The Searchers is a timeless masterpiece, and it's always a pleasure to revisit it. Today, we're taking a fresh look at the film by exploring how the actors who brought these memorable characters to life have evolved over the years. We'll take a trip back to their original roles, sharing their names and ages from when the film was made, and then catch up on where they are now in 2024. Join me as we see how time has transformed the legendary stars of this iconic movie. Number 1. John Wayne as Ethan Edwards. Bitter, determined, and full of hate, Edwards harbors a long-standing prejudice against Indians that has only deepened over the years. Despite this, he rarely loses his composure, often focusing his energy on keeping Martin in check. Edwards is ruthless toward his enemies, which has brought him to a difficult point. Even if he manages to save his niece, will she still be the same person he remembers? Despite his violent nature, Edwards is shown to desire a more peaceful and civilized existence, one that he tragically cannot attain. Marion Robert Morrison, better known as John Wayne or the Duke, was an iconic American actor whose career spanned the golden age of Hollywood, especially in westerns and war films. Wayne's most memorable roles came in iconic westerns, such as Red River, 1948, where he played a determined cattleman, The Searchers, 1956, portraying a Civil War veteran on a mission to rescue his kidnapped niece, and The Man Who Shot Liberty Valance, 1962, where he played a tough rancher competing for a woman's affection. In True Grit, 1969, his portrayal of a grizzled, one-eyed marshal earned him the Academy Award for Best Actor. Beyond westerns, Wayne made lasting impressions in films like The Quiet Man, 1952, with Maureen O'Hara, and the World War II epic The Longest Day, 1962. Wayne's final role was in The Shootist, 1976, where he played an aging gunfighter facing terminal cancer, a poignant reflection of his own battle with the disease. His last public appearance was at the Academy Awards in April 1979, just 2 months before his death from stomach cancer on June 11, 1979. In recognition of his contribution to American cinema and culture, Wayne was posthumously awarded the Presidential Medal of Freedom in 1980. Ethan Edwards played by John Wayne when he was 49 years old. Sadly, despite enrolling in a cancer vaccine study in hopes of fighting the disease, John Wayne passed away from stomach cancer on June 11, 1979, at the age of 72, at UCLA Medical Center in Los Angeles. Number 2. Jeffrey Hunter as Martin Pauly. Unlike Ethan, who has strong prejudices against Native Americans, Martin believes in understanding and respecting everyone. He has a mixed heritage and grew up with both settlers and Native Americans, which helps him empathize with both sides. He tries to understand Debbie's situation instead of judging her, which shows his compassionate nature. Martin is a moral compass in the film, highlighting the importance of understanding and tolerance. Jeffrey Hunter, born Henry Herman McKinney Jr., November 25, 1926, May 27, 1969, was an American film and television actor and producer known for his roles in films such as The Searchers and King of Kings. On television, Hunter is known for his 1965 role as Captain Christopher Pike in the original pilot episode of Star Trek, the original series. Hunter's big break came when he starred alongside John Wayne in John Ford's classic film The Searchers, 1956, playing a young cowboy who joins Wayne on a mission to rescue a kidnapped child. His performance earned high praise, holding his own against Wayne, a seasoned actor. Hunter continued to work with Ford in 2 more films, and in 1960, he had a standout role in Hell to Eternity, portraying World War II hero Guy Gabaldon. Later that same year, Hunter took on the role he's most recognized for, playing Jesus in Samuel Bronston's King of Kings, 1961. His youthful appearance at 33 earned the film some teasing in Hollywood, with people jokingly referring to it as, "I was a teenage Jesus." After starring in the Western series Temple Houston, 1963, and turning down the lead role in Star Trek, 1966, Hunter's career started to slide, eventually leading him to Europe to star in low-budget westerns, an unfortunate sign of a fading career. In November 1968, while filming Cry Chicago, Viva America in Spain, Hunter suffered a serious concussion when an on-set explosion went wrong. A car window that was rigged to explode outward instead blew inward, injuring him. His wife Emily later recalled that he went into shock on the flight back to the U.S., barely able to speak or move. Once in Los Angeles, Hunter was taken to Good Samaritan Hospital, where doctors found no life-threatening injuries beyond a concussion and a displaced vertebra. Martin Pauly was played by Jeffrey Hunter when he was 40 years old. Sadly, he was found unconscious by his visiting friend Frank Bello and taken to Valley Presbyterian Hospital, where he underwent brain surgery. He died at about 9:30 the following morning at the age of 42. Number 3. Vera Miles as Lori Jorgenson. Living in the harsh environment of the Old West, Lori has shown unwavering strength and determination. She manages the household and supports her family, demonstrating her ability to endure and thrive despite the challenges of frontier life. Lori's resilience is a testament to her inner strength and fortitude. A warm, reliable, and likable lead of features and TV beginning in the 1950s, Vera Miles got a prominent start but rarely seemed to get the roles her talent merited. An attractive, composed woman who worked as a model after placing third in the 1948 Miss America contest, she broke into films in 1951. Although her first leads were in modest films, her earnest, outdoorsy heroines suited her well for The Rose Bowl Story, 1952, and Jacques Tourneur's stylish Wichita, 1955. She also kept busy in TV anthologies, where she first worked with the directors who helmed her most important films. John Ford directed Miles in Rookie of the Year, 1955, an episode of Screen Directors Playhouse, which led him to cast her as an outspoken frontierswoman in his classic The Searchers, 1956. Hitchcock, meanwhile, liked her work in Revenge, 1955, on his Alfred Hitchcock presence so much that he put her under personal contract. Miles has been married 4 times. Her first marriage was to stuntman and bit part actor Bob Miles. They tied the knot in 1948 and were together until 1954, during which they had 2 daughters, Deborah and Kelly. After that, in 1956, she married actor and bodybuilder Gordon Scott, her co-star in Tarzan's Hidden Jungle. The couple had 1 son, Michael, before divorcing in 1960. Her third marriage was to actor Keith Larson in 1960, lasting until 1971, and together they had 1 son, Eric. Theo Huxtable played by Malcolm Jamal when she was 37 years old, and now she is 95 years old. Number 4. Ward Bond as Captain Samuel Johnston Clay. As a Texas Ranger, he has a powerful position and is responsible for maintaining law and order on the frontier. His authoritative demeanor is evident in how he interacts with others, often taking charge and giving orders. Clayton's ability to lead and command respect is a key part of his personality, reflecting his role as a figure of authority. As a reverend, Captain Clayton also embodies strong moral and ethical principles. He often serves as the moral compass of the group, guiding their actions according to his sense of right and wrong. This moral stance is particularly evident in his efforts to temper Ethan's vengeful tendencies and ensure that their actions remain just and lawful. Clayton's principled nature highlights the importance of morality and ethics in the harsh environment of the Old West. An arrogant man of little tact, yet fun-loving in the extreme, Bond was either loved or hated by all who knew him. His face and personality fit perfectly into almost any type of film, and he appeared in hundreds of pictures in his more than 30-year career, in both bit parts and major supporting roles. In the films of Wayne and Ford, particularly, he was nearly always present. Among his most memorable roles are John L. Sullivan in Gentleman Jim, 1942, Detective Tom Polhouse in The Maltese Falcon, 1941, and the Reverend Captain Samuel Johnson Clayton, The Searchers, 1956. An ardent but anti-intellectual patriot, he was perhaps the most vehement proponent among the Hollywood community of blacklisting in the witch hunts of the 1950s, and he served as a most unforgiving president of the ultra-right-wing Motion Picture Alliance for the Preservation of American Ideals. In the mid-50s, he gained his greatest fame as the star of TV's Wagon Train, 1957. Captain Samuel Johnston Clay played by Ward Bond when he was 53 years old. Sadly, Bond suffered a massive heart attack while at a hotel in Dallas with his wife. He was pronounced dead at a hospital on November 5, 1960, at the age of 57. Number 5. Natalie Wood as Debbie Edwards. Kidnapped by Comanche Chief Scar at a young age, Debbie endures years of captivity and adapts to her new life. Despite the hardships she faces, Debbie remains strong and resilient, demonstrating an inner strength that allows her to survive and even thrive in a challenging environment. Her ability to endure such adversity speaks to her remarkable fortitude. A doe-eyed, brunette beauty, Natalie Wood was one of Hollywood's brightest stars and a legend both on and off the silver screen. Born to Russian immigrants, Wood found herself in the spotlight as a child, capturing audiences' hearts in the holiday classic Miracle on 34th Street. Maintaining a successful career as an adult, she went on to turn in Oscar-nominated performances in the films Rebel Without a Cause, 1955, and Splendor in the Grass, 1961, as well as charming audiences as Maria in the hit musical West Side Story, 1961. Wood's storybook marriage to fellow actor Robert Wagner delighted movie fans, first in the late 1950s, and later following their divorce when the couple reunited for a second go at marriage in the early 1970s. With a personal life rivaling the plot of any Hollywood movie, Wood was one of the most beloved actresses of her time, even long after her mysterious drowning death in 1981, which left behind more questions than answers. Although investigations into Wood's mysterious death seemed to be reopened every few years, with Wagner being named a person of interest in early 2018, it remained officially unsolved. Natalie Wood's love life was highly publicized, especially her two marriages to actor Robert Wagner. They first married in 1957, but divorced in 1962. Debbie Edwards played by Natalie Wood when she was 28 years old. Sadly, Los Angeles County Coroner Thomas Noguchi ruled the cause of her death to be accidental drowning and hypothermia. According to Noguchi, Wood had been drinking and she may have slipped while trying to reboard the dinghy. She was 43rd. Number 6. John Qualen, as Lars Jorgenson Lars, is a humorous and light-hearted character. He often provides comic relief in the film, especially through his interactions with other characters. His Swedish accent and mannerisms add a touch of levity to the otherwise intense and dramatic narrative. Lars's humor helps to balance the film's darker themes, making him a likable and endearing character. Lars is also resilient and hardworking. As an immigrant in the harsh environment of the Old West, he has had to endure many challenges to build a life for his family. John Qualen may not be a household name, but his remarkable versatility allowed him to blend seamlessly into some of the greatest films ever made. He first caught his big break in 1929 playing Carl Olsen, a Swedish janitor in the Broadway Play Street scene, a role he reprised in the film adaptation 2 years later. That same year, he appeared in John Ford's Aerosmith, kicking off a 30-year collaboration with the legendary director. Qualen became a staple in Ford's films, often portraying working-class characters with ethnic names and distinct accents, like Lars Jorgenson in The Searchers, Axel Swanson in The Long Voyage Home, and Erickson in The Man Who Shot Liberty Valance. While his characters' accents were often humorous, he also delivered deeply emotional performances, such as his haunting portrayal of Muley Graves in The Grapes of Wrath, 1940, where he embodied the despair of displaced farmers with a heart-wrenching Midwestern twang. Qualen's versatility shone through even in comedy, as seen in his memorable turn as a convicted murderer in Howard Hawks's His Girl Friday, 1940. Another iconic role came in Casablanca, where his Scandinavian-accented character, Berger, fit perfectly into the film's cosmopolitan world. Throughout his career, Qualen's ability to take on different nationalities and personas made him an unforgettable yet often unrecognizable presence in film history. Hotel Carlton guest, played by Cosmo Sardo when he was 57 years old. Sadly, Qualen died at age 87 of heart failure in Torrance, California. Number 7. Olive Carey as Mrs. Jorgenson. Living on the frontier requires a great deal of fortitude, and Mrs. Jorgenson exemplifies this through her ability to endure and overcome the many challenges that come her way. Her resilience is evident in her unwavering support for her family and her determination to maintain their well-being despite the hardships they face. Mrs. Jorgenson is also nurturing and compassionate. She is deeply caring and protective of her family, always putting their needs above her own. This nurturing nature is particularly evident in her interactions with her children and her husband, Lars. Mrs. Jorgenson's compassion extends beyond her immediate family, as she often provides support and comfort to her neighbors and community members. Olive Carey was an actress who graced the silver screen many times throughout her Hollywood career. Carey kick-started her acting career in various films, such as Trader Horn with Harry Carey, Border Devils, and Face to Face with Robert Preston. She also appeared in the drama On Dangerous Ground with Ida Lupino, the drama Affair with a Stranger with Gene Simmons, and the crime picture Rogue Cop with Robert Taylor. She continued to work steadily in film throughout the 50s, appearing in I Died 1,000 Times, the dramatic adaptation The Cobweb with Richard Widmark, and The Searchers. She also appeared in the Burt Lancaster adaptation Gunfight at the OK Corral. She also worked in television around this time, including a part on Mr. Adams and Eve. Nearing the end of her career, she tackled roles in the James Stewart Western Night Passage, Run of the Arrow, and the biopic drama The Wings of Eagles with John Wayne. She also appeared in The Alamo with John Wayne and the James Stewart adaptation, Two Rode Together. Carey last acted in Billy the Kid vs. Dracula with Chuck Courtney. Carey was married to Harry Carey and had one child. Mrs. Jorgenson played by Harry Carey Jr. when she was 60 years old. Carey died of natural causes at the age of 92 at her home in Carpinteria, California. Number 8. Henry Brandon as Scar. As the chief of his tribe, Scar exudes authority and commands respect. He is a strong and decisive leader, capable of maintaining control over his people and orchestrating complex raids and attacks. His authoritative demeanor is evident in his interactions with both his tribe and his enemies. Scar's ability to lead and command respect is a key aspect of his personality, reflecting his role as a powerful and influential figure. German-born Henry Brandon was a scene-stealing character actor known for his unforgettable villainous roles in American films. After his parents emigrated to the U.S. shortly after his birth, Brandon's passion for acting grew, and he honed his craft at the prestigious Pasadena Community Playhouse. His big break came when he landed the lead villain role in the classic Laurel and Hardy film March of the Wooden Soldiers, 1934, and from there, he became Hollywood's go-to bad guy. In 1936, after being billed as Henry or Harry Kleinbach, he reinvented himself as Henry Brandon and took on a thrilling variety of roles. He mesmerized audiences as the menacing doctor, Fu Manchu in Drums of Fu Manchu, 1943, but also showcased his range with more sympathetic characters, like the tough yet compassionate foreman Joe Dombrowski in Black Legion, 1937. Brandon's chameleon-like abilities even saw him cast as Native American chiefs in two John Ford classics, The Searchers, 1956, and Two Rode Together, 1961. Throughout his career, he remained dedicated to the stage, starring as the villain in the long-running melodrama The Drunkard, which he continued performing into the 1980s. Always busy, Brandon balanced film, television, and theater until his final days. Known for his bachelor lifestyle, he lived to entertain, making a lasting mark as one of cinema's most reliable villains. Scar played by Henry Brandon when he was 44 years old. Sadly, he suffered a heart attack and died on 15th February 1990 at the age of 77 at Cedars-Sinai Hospital in Los Angeles. Number 9. Ken Curtis as Charlie McCory. Charlie McCory is characterized by his earnest and well-meaning nature. He genuinely cares for Lori Jorgenson and is sincere in his intentions to marry her. His earnestness is evident in his straightforward approach to courting Lori and his desire to build a future with her. Charlie's well-meaning nature makes him a likable character, even if his efforts sometimes come across as awkward or misguided. Charlie is also competitive and determined, particularly when it comes to winning Lori's affection. He views Martin Pauly as a rival and is determined to prove himself as the better suitor. It's hard to believe, but Ken Curtis, who became famous for playing scruffy, backwoods, southern hillbilly characters, wasn't even from the South. He was actually born in the small town of Las Animas, Colorado, where his father was the local sheriff. And even more surprising, Curtis started his career as a singer during the big band era, performing with none other than the legendary Tommy Dorsey Orchestra. Curtis transitioned to film in the late 1940s, starring in low-budget westerns during the tail end of the singing cowboy craze. When that genre faded, he turned to straight acting, landing both dramatic and comedic roles and becoming a favorite of director John Ford, who also happened to be his father-in-law. Curtis even ventured into film production, co-producing two low-budget monster flicks, The Killer Shrews and The Giant Gila Monster, both released in 1959. However, what truly cemented his legacy was his unforgettable role as Festus Hagen, the scruffy, no-nonsense deputy on the long-running TV series Gunsmoke, which made him a household name. Desk clerk played by Olin Soule when he was 50 years old. Sadly, Curtis died on April 28, 1991, in his sleep of a heart attack in Fresno, California. Number 10. Harry Carey Jr. as Brad Jorgenson. Brad loves Lucy more than anything, and when she gets kidnapped by the Comanches, he won't stop until he finds her. He joins Ethan and Martin in their search, even though it's dangerous. Brad's love for Lucy is really strong, and he'll do anything to keep her safe. Brad's also really brave. He faces a lot of danger on his journey, but he doesn't back down. He's especially brave when he rides into the Comanche camp to find Lucy. It's a really risky thing to do, but he does it because he loves her so much. Harry Carey Jr., the son of silent film cowboy Harry Carey, used the horsemanship he learned from his father to carve out his own niche in Hollywood. His youthful, boyish look often cast him as honorable but tragic frontiersman in films directed by John Ford, Raoul Walsh, and Howard Hawks. He faced a grisly end in many of his roles, from being gunned down by Robert Mitchum in Pursued to being trampled in Red River and slaughtered by Comanche raiders in The Searchers. Ford and his leading man, John Wayne, were instrumental in advancing Carey's career, giving him co-starring roles in Three Godfathers, 1948, Island in the Sky, 1953, The Undefeated, 1969, and Cahill U.S. Marshal, 1973. After the deaths of Ford and Wayne, Carey became a beloved figure for a new generation of filmmakers, making nostalgic appearances in films like Gremlins, 1984, Back to the Future Part 3, 1990, and Tombstone, 1994. He retired from acting in his 70s to focus on writing and producing, reflecting on the careers of the Hollywood giants who had shaped his own. Harry Carey Jr. married Marilyn Fix, the daughter of actor Paul Fix, in 1944. Together they had 4 children, Stephen, Melinda, Thomas, and Patricia. In 1996, Carey published his autobiography, Company of Heroes, My Life as an Actor in the John Ford Stock Company, where he reflected on his career and experiences in Hollywood. Brad Jorgenson played by Harry Carey Jr. when he was 35 years old. Carey died of natural causes in a hospice on Thursday, December 27, 2012, in Santa Barbara at the age of 91. Number 12. Hank Warden, as Mose Harper Mose, is an eccentric and quirky character. He often provides comic relief in the film with his odd mannerisms and humorous remarks. Mose's eccentricity is evident in his interactions with other characters, where he often seems out of sync with the more serious and intense atmosphere of the narrative. This quirkiness makes him a distinctive and memorable figure in the film. Norton Earl Warden, better known as the rugged and charming character actor, began life in Rolfe, Iowa, but grew up on a sprawling cattle ranch near Glendive, Montana. Though he was educated as an engineer at Stanford and the University of Nevada, and even trained as an Army pilot, his aviation dreams ended when he washed out of flight school. Undeterred, Warden hit the rodeo circuit as a saddle bronc rider, where he famously broke his neck in a fall, though he wouldn't realize the full extent of his injury until decades later. Warden's journey took an unexpected turn when he was picked from a rodeo in Madison Square Garden to appear in the Broadway play Green Grow the Lilacs, the inspiration for the musical Oklahoma. After stints as a cab driver in New York and working as a wrangler and guide on the Bright Angel Trail of the Grand Canyon, he found himself in Hollywood thanks to a recommendation from Billy Burke. In Tinseltown, he struck up friendships with iconic figures like John Wayne, Howard Hawks, and John Ford, who became instrumental in his acting career. Warden's off-screen life was equally rich. He was married to Louise Eaton until her passing, and later shared his home with up-and-coming actor Jim Beaver, helping him establish his career in Hollywood. Mose Harper played by Hank Warden when he was 55 years old. Sadly, he died while taking a nap at his home in Los Angeles on December 6, 1992, aged 91. We hope you found this video informative and engaging. Share your thoughts in the comments below and connect with other viewers. Don't forget to give us a thumbs up and subscribe for more content like this. See you in the next video.